My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Well, hello there, talking tennis community. Here we are on yet another Last Ball Drops, and you won't believe what we're going to be talking about this evening or this morning, depending where you are. Tennis. Joined as not as always, but this evening by Fergus and Nick. Gentlemen, how we doing?
I'm good. I'm ready to go.
Oh, I'm excited. I can finally do a last ball. First time this Wimbledon. Hopefully not the last. But yeah, lots of tennis to talk about, Zach.
Awesome. Well, listen, let's get right into it. Let's get started on the WTA side. After that, we'll get to the men's draw. And with the first match that I want to get y'all's thoughts on, Sabalenka Bouzkova. Fergus, did you get the chance to catch any of this? And if so, what'd you think?
Yeah. I mean, a slightly less routine win for Sabalenka than her first round match. But, again, Sabalenka avoiding the upset. We've had so many upsets so far this Wimbledon. And, it's good to see Sabalenka kind of not in full cruise control, but, making the most out of her good form that she's had. But, yeah, Bouzkova could have been a tricky test today, but she passed with flying colours and, moves on to round 3.
Very cool.
Yeah, just the same. I think Sabalenka is one of those players that, okay, maybe she's not expanded her trophy cabinet as much, this season as she would have hoped, but she is the consistent name in the Force of Chaos in pretty much every draw that she's played in this season. We exclude the Middle East. We don't talk about that. But Bouzkova definitely pushed her today. Like, Bouzkova's a player who's very hard to put away, and she did actually serve for the first set 6-5, but Sabalenka kind of locked in towards the end of that match, and it's definitely only the one real meaningful break in the end during that. But I think, impressive. Sabalenka put the performance in that she needed to. Very, very good performance. Like, she just found the level she needs to get it done. Into round 3.
And the producer points out, by the way, that Sabalenka hit twice as many winners as unforced errors. So, it sounds like this is a match that was a reflection of Bouzkova as much was Sabalenka. Very, very game performance. We're not going to get into a ton of previews this evening, but y'all can probably see one that we are on the screen. Let's keep things rolling to the Raducanu Vondrousova match. Nick, start us off. What'd you think of Raducanu? Is she back? Is she in championship contention again?
I mean, that's one of the best Raducanu performances I've ever seen today. I was interested in the way that she kind of outcrafted Vondrousova. Like, she was, she definitely hit bigger at points, but I was impressed by, she wasn't bothered by Vondrousova kind of mixing up the paces. She was doing the same thing to her. Basically doing to Vondrousova what you'd expect Vondrousova to do to her. She does seem to have Vondrousova's number at Wimbledon. It's the second time she's beaten her at SW19. To answer your main question, is she a title contender? Big question. If it's going to come anywhere, grass is probably the most likely scenario, given she enjoys playing on it, given it suits her so well. The ultimate test is, does this surface close the gap to the best players in the world? Because we've seen it time and again, Raducanu, there's always that little bit of a gap to Sabalenka and Swiatek, who are the players at the top of the game right now, who are setting the standard, or two of them anyway. And she's not been able to really make many inroads in that rivalry. So I'm curious to see whether grass evens that out.
I mean, Listen, I feel like the phrase US Open style, like Raducanu style play tennis is thrown around a lot. It was thrown around last year when she made round 4, and then as soon as she was favourite against Sun, she lost. Obviously 6-2 in the third. And listen, she was playing amazingly last year, but it's easy to say this, but this was the best I've seen Raducanu play in a long, long time. So confident on serve, return completely locked in on return. Didn't miss a beat. Was just making Vondrousova so uncomfortable from the back of the court and hitting shots and finding the angles on shots that should have been winners or may have been winners 6 months ago. But Raducanu's movement has become such a key part of her game. Coming towards Sabalenka, I don't know. I said this with the Vondrousova match that we kind of always have this big thing about, it's Raducanu versus the Sabalenka or Swiatek or like a big player. And then the match comes around and it's 6-2, 6-3, and it's over pretty quickly. And yet we're all like Raducanu's still not there, like back where she was when she won the US Open. So, I hope this, stems those sort of matches, but
I have a burning question. Appreciate you're kind of steering the ship, Zach, but I do want to throw this out there. Mainly for Fergus, but I do want to hear your views on it as well. What kind of difference do you think surface makes in this matchup?
Yeah, it's a big one, especially as this is probably Sabalenka's weakest surface.
Controversial.
Is it?
Over clay?
I'd say, yeah.
I mean, I think her game translates very well to grass courts, and maybe she hasn't quite had the same results, but it's a short season. She's a big basher. Yeah.
I'm basing this off results, not basing this off game style at this current moment.
I think it's fair to say it's her weakest set of results, but again, it's a very short season. I think that her game lends itself quite naturally to grass court play, though. Or it should.
Yeah, no, absolutely, it does. But until I see the results, I'm not going to call it I'm not going to say it's Clay is her. She obviously won Madrid and then made the Roland Garros final, and arguably, was in a position to win that Roland Garros final, and then she just, got super tired. That's a whole different conversation. But this brings it down for me to about a 68-32 to Sabalenka. Maybe probably closer to 70-30. I mean, Raducanu looked so good today, but the chances she repeats that performance, I hope so.
Look, if anybody knows how to string together an epic 2-week performance, it's Raducanu.
Yeah, I mean,
that being said, it's been a little bit. I think Sabalenka is going to roll her like 3-4, maybe 3-2. And I think that when Sabalenka makes the finals, we should revisit this moment, because I think that I just think that she is a cut above everybody else right now. I think that there's nobody that can beat her except for her on grass right now. I do expect if her and Svitolina get matched up, it'll be an entertaining match, but Sabalenka, I don't think should have any meaningful trouble beating Raducanu in the next round. Nick, and I think that's true on this surface and every single other one. I think perhaps she'll beat her a little bit more quickly, although not necessarily more convincingly because of the surface. Nick, what do you think?
I am going to disagree slightly. So I agree it's going to be straight sets, Sabalenka, most likely. But I think one of those sets will be a tie-break or a 7-5.
Ooh, okay.
I think...
Yeah, I agree.
I think that first set... I think it's... And of the two, it's going to be the first set. Because I think Sabalenka might start slow. Raducanu's going to want to make it a fight. And then Sabalenka will figure something out towards the end of the first set, get a decisive break in the second, and get on with it. I'm seeing kind of similar kind of vibes to the matches that Emma's played against Iga and Stuttgart, where she's kind of keeping up with Iga in those matches, but there's a sense that Iga's that step above, and I could see a repeat of that happening here. As the most likely scenario, I mean, I think I'm more on the 65-35 Sabalenka. I do think Emma has a chance of springing a surprise, especially given, heck, what on earth is happening this Wimbledon. But that's because I like chaos. So
yeah,
if we're going with my head, Sabalenka is the heavy favorite.
And hey, we're talking tennis. If you're in the chat, feel free to start typing tennis. We want those comments. We want those questions. Engage with us. We would love to engage with you. Jake Davies, always a pleasure to see you in the chat. Thanks for joining. Drew, same deal. Kirit as well. Thank you for joining. With that, let's keep it rolling, fellas. Mertens, Lee, Sasnovich, Svitolina. Anything jump out to you? Anything worth reporting?
Not particularly.
I didn't see either of these matches really. I think, I caught the very, very end of Svitolina serving for the match. That was it. I think clearly very comfortable win for Svitolina. And Mertens, tough first set, no problems the rest of it. She's having a decent grass court season. I don't think that third round is going to be that straightforward for Svitolina. But I think Mertens is kind of causing troubles. But again, I think that could be another close straight setter.
Yeah, I think Mertens just found another gear in sets 2 and 3, and that was that. Fergus, sorry to cut you off. Keep going.
No worries. I'd just like to inject one last thing about Raducanu Sabalenka that I felt I needed to say. The only way I can see Raducanu winning is if she plays. If she makes it a straight ball bash, I don't think she wins because no one's going to beat Sabalenka, and maybe apart from Keys in a straight ball bash. She needs to make it crafty. She needs to not hit the same shot twice in a set, and she needs to make it low as possible.
I do what Vondrousova did to her in Berlin, which, to be fair, if I'd kind of out Vondrousova today, doable.
She has to keep it super unique, never the same. Keep Sabalenka on her toes. Try bring her forward. Just with how low the surface is, that's her only chance for me. But I will probably go 7-6, 6-3.
And let's keep things rolling to the next set of matches. Johnny P says Raducanu has no chance. She'll get dusted 1 and 2. Hey, that's the cool thing about predictions. Somebody's be right, somebody's be wrong. We're going to find out. I guess, of course, the great wild card is you never know which players are going to leave London, go to the cultural event of the century in Cardiff, the Oasis reunion. Famously an event that might lead to somebody having a few too many tastes in an evening and something to keep an eye on. Let's keep things rolling to the next set of matches. Sorry, I had to plug Oasis.
Somebody did.
Absolutely.
They got to punch each other on stage, and then
we seem to be stuck on this set. So why don't we talk? Here we go.
I think the next match is the one that Fergus has been itching to talk about since we started recording.
Is that the Vekic match? Fergus,
the
floor is yours, man. Take it away.
Listen, this was I'm gonna remind myself of a tweet that Nick posted maybe about 2 months ago. From me, I have no reason to criticize any of these WTA players because they are far and away the best players in the world. And I have no right to, because why would I? But Bolter today, literally, I felt like that was maybe the worst I've ever seen her play, unfortunately. She did so well to take that opener after being 5-2 down. And I was thinking, great, she might even roll Sierra 6-1 in the second after, fighting so hard in that first. And then it felt like I was watching Dart Bolter all over again. And she kind of just collapsed. There was the serve went walkabout. There was nothing behind the ground strokes. Sierra was dictating. And, for someone that is such a big ball striker, Bolter retracted all of her big ball striking ability and tried to, not miss, which isn't what she does. She changed her game, and it was, I feel like we had some sort of like ghost of last year when, Katie had that option. If she had won that match against Dart, she had a really strong chance of making the fourth round, and then, even the quarters. But just, yeah.
We got Johnny in the chat hating right now, by the way. Bolter isn't that good. Nice person, but overrated. Nick, do you agree with Fergus's assessment? This is the worst that you've seen Bolter play. Or do you agree with Johnny's assessment that maybe she just doesn't quite have that level?
So here's the thing about this match and my experience of it. So for those of you who may have seen my social media posts and seen my ridiculous Wimbledon setup of about 5 screens at the same time, Bolter Sierra was put on my smallest screen because I thought it was going to be a pretty straightforward match and I just needed to keep an eye on the score. So what I was seeing was, like Fergus was saying, a little bit of a mess, especially that first set. And I saw Bolter kind of scrap her way over the line. And I was like, I mean, maybe she'll kick on, but I did have concerns that she might drop it. And like, Ferg, to your point, Fergus, I think this is not something that's unusual for Bolter. I think as the match went on, I was like, oh, hang on, this has happened before, because it wasn't just the dart match. I'm pretty sure there was a year she beat Pliskova, had a pretty decent round 3, and then didn't win. It was against Harmony Tan, actually, in 22. But anyway, I remember her winning, knocking out a seed, and then having a pretty even third round match and not making it. Like, when Bolter's the favourite at Wimbledon, she gets nervous and things go a bit wrong. Now, it has to be said, Solana Sierra took full advantage. And played a really clean match, really, really clean match from her perspective, and fully justified a lucky loser place. What is it about that? We've got 2 lucky losers in the women's draw who had match points to go through in qualifying. So in some ways, they deserve to be here. And Sierra's a name I keep seeing kind of pushing towards top 100. And it's nice to see her kind of make that little bit of a breakthrough here. But yeah, she saw the situation and played it really, really well, because otherwise it could have been the alternative was they were both playing badly and it would have been a very messy match.
Yeah. Yes, the producer is right. Brenner is a big fan of Sierra. But yeah, hats off to Sierra. She handled the situation absolutely perfectly and she took full advantage. But yeah, this was just after the way that Bolter handled Badosa in round 1 was it's just so frustrating to then have this sort of match played 2 days later.
I think I think Katie Bolter has the capability of doing well at Wimbledon. It's just obviously this hasn't been her year. We've had a couple of years where it's just not happened. I do wonder whether she needs to have the worst possible draw and be the underdog in every match to kind of get it done almost.
Yeah.
Nerves are a funny thing, and it's a reminder that pro athletes and tennis players, they're people. And, it's not just about hitting a ball. It's about what's going on here. And it's about some of those expectations. And I think this is a match that's a great example of that. Let's keep things rolling, fellas. Buxa Vekic, did either of y'all have a chance to catch that? Any observations? Looks like a pretty comfortable win there for the Spaniard.
Caught the end of it. Caught the last game. So I couldn't really tell you any meaningful insights. I think it's a reflection on Donna Vekic's season so far. Looks like she's going to start something and it doesn't quite materialize. She's now going to drop out of the seeding range into, she might even drop out top 50, depending on how things go with the rest of the tournament. This is not a great situation for her right now in terms of her ranking. And I think, I was hopeful that she'd go far, but I wasn't massively optimistic. But Buxa doesn't necessarily play badly on grass. She's a solid player. And that seemed to come across from that one game. She got the job done, didn't get too nervous. Nothing more to say than what I saw in that match.
Yeah, and I think this is a good time to remind folks that not only can you catch this great content on Last Ball Drops, you can also catch it on Nick's podcast. Nick, what's that called again?
Oh, right. Do you mean WTA Weekly? Or
yes.
Yeah, WTA Weekly. So WTA Weekly is obviously what we have every week by the sound of it, unless it's a slam. Then we do wrap up at the end of the slam. It's part of our Talking Tennis itinerary where we'll wrap up all the news from the WTA. We'll do full draw previews if we've got slams or 1,000 events coming up. Yet to have Fergus on, but I also believe Fergus is on our ATP equivalent sometimes. So lots of useful insights there. So I'm looking forward to doing the wrap up already.
I love that little extra plug, by the way, of the ATP pod with the plugging of the WTA. That's just like, that's a cascading plug. I believe would be the term they use in the biz. Look at Nick's setup. Fergus, is this what your setup looks like throughout the day?
This is something what my setup was looking like when I had all at once. I believe it was Cartel, Norrie, and Bolter all at once. I had 3 screens going. Yeah.
Very, very cool setup. I only have the 2. I'm an old man living in the past. What can I say? Let's keep things moving. Let me know if either of y'all have anything to add about the Fernandez-Sigmund match. But, Fernandez, yet another seed going out early. It has been an absolute bloodbath for the seeds at Wimbledon. Gentlemen, anything to add before we get into the Keys-Danilovic match?
Caught Sigmund Fernandez, or I had it on kind of on one of my screens. I wasn't paying loads of attention to it. I am a bit of a Layla fan, but I could see she was struggling with this one.
Yeah.
Sigmund does what she does, made it a scrap, and for whatever reason, Layla struggled with that today when she probably wouldn't on others. So Sigmund crafts her way into round 3.
Fergus, do you think that Fernandez can maintain a top 30, maybe even a top 20 level without addressing her serve, or is it just too much of a liability at the heights of the game?
I mean, she's been doing it for a couple of years now, right? It's like she's always seemingly venturing on that 30, 32 to 28 mark. Listen, the serve is going to have to be addressed at some point, but at the moment she seems to be getting by just fine. But it's again whether she's happy sitting here, which no tennis player I think would be happy sitting there at 28, 30 instead of progressing. I think the serve needs to be addressed, but I think it's probably something for an off season. I don't think if you try too drastically to change it mid-season, currently in the height of Grand Slam season, we're really gonna have that much of an effect that it's gonna kick her ranking on. So, maybe she gives it till November, but, that's entirely her decision. I'm not her coach. So
this is one of the many reasons we need a longer offseason for tennis, so players have more time to address a glaring and obvious weakness, which her serve absolutely is, as the producer points out, even on grass. Let's keep it rolling. Danilovic, Keys. Keys having a pretty solid start to the tournament. Fergus, do you think that she's a contender? What did you catch any of this match? What do you think of Keys' performance so far?
Absolutely, Keys is a contender. I have no doubts that Keys is absolutely in with a shout. Danilovic on grass isn't something that really convinces me as trying to think of the word. Danilovic's game on grass doesn't really shout out to me as something that I will be screaming at my TV to watch. Keys just sort of cruising through here, just such big ball striking, and it's actually fantastic to watch, really.
Yeah.
Nick, how many players do you think are ahead of Keys in terms of likelihood to win this thing?
Just to say on this match, I did watch it. So it's interesting. Danilovic tried to hit through Keys, didn't work. Tried to scrap with Keys, that didn't work. It just tried to go, it just didn't work. So Keys is hitting pretty well right now. I think that Rusa first round warmed her up quite a bit, and I think she's now the favourite to make the quarters. In terms of where she's at relative to the favourites, I'd say she's pretty close to joint first with Sabalenka and Raducanu. In fact, I'd probably put her in that category.
Wow.
And again, if you caught the WTA Weekly show, I predicted her to win the title. I think Keys is just out of, Wimbledon gives us slightly more unlikely winners compared to who you would normally pick. But even so, I think based on her form, based on the fact that her game does suit grass and she's a multiple Eastbourne champion, I do think she's up there with Sabalenka and Raducanu as one of the leading favourites at this tournament. And this draw has really opened up for her. And we say this now, Lara could drive her absolutely insane by junk balling her in the next round. So who knows?
You know, it's funny. I absolutely made fun of your finals predictions, particularly Navarro. And I was like, oh, Schneider is obviously the stretch player to make it. Schneider is out. I believe Navarro is still in. I think we'll be talking about that match later. Any closing thoughts on this flight of matches before we keep moving along? Oh, okay. Let's keep it doing. And here
we're on a tight
go.
schedule. We're on a tight schedule here.
We are.
I run a tight ship, Fergus. I do what I can.
Absolutely.
Jack wants to be able to talk about the men's matches at some point.
I think I'm accepting that I'll be getting out of here in about 20 minutes and y'all be on your own for those. This was, I think, perhaps though the upset of the day. Paolini Rakimova. What the heck happened there? Nick, I'm sure that this was on one of your screens. Tell us about it.
It certainly was. In fact, I would say I was paying almost as much attention to this as the Raducanu match. Loved this match to watch. It was lots of long rallies, sort of basically both players just absolutely going for it. It was a real battle between the two of them. And Rakimova broke through, and I think what impressed me was she fights back from 4-1 down in the first. Paolini still gets it. Rakimova, they managed to clinch it close to the end of the second and then breaks early in the third and holds on. In fact, actually gets more comfortable holding as the match goes on. Rakimova played a really good match here and not bad for someone who's ranked around the 80s. Disappointing for Paolini. She's going to lose a chunk of points now. But, you know, this is the kind of match that, you know, she wasn't blown away. It was a tough one. It was close. Rakimova made the quarters in Eastbourne. I did put this match down as one that could get interesting. I didn't necessarily have full upset on my cards, but I thought, oh, it'll probably go 3 or something like that. But yeah, Paolini went out, dropped to 8 at the highest, depending on what other people do. And Rakimova's now set herself up with a pretty decent chance of getting her ranking up, and this is a big breakthrough for her, first top 10 win of her career. And yeah, it was a great match to watch. Loved the kind of long rallies and physicality of it all.
So Fergus, do you think that Paolini is just kind of struggling with the pressure and expectations, just couldn't find her level? Do you think that Rakimova is finding a new level and kind of taking the leap, or a little bit of both?
I mean, it's tough to say, right? Paolini obviously had such a good year last year that it was going to be hard to top it, right? If she was going to top last year, she'd have to win both Roland Garros and Wimbledon and complete the Channel Slam, and the likelihood of that happening is so slim. Yeah, the
Chanel Slam?
No. Since the start of this year, I've always felt like it's going to be such a hard year for Paolini to sort of replicate her success. So I feel as though this is maybe a little bit of pressure, but it's also kind of a natural sort of like development of how it's just gone for, you know, a career sort of fortune, as in, you know, this is kind of like Fritz. Fritz is having this sort of year. Obviously now he's finding his way on the grass, but at the start of the year, and especially on the clay, Fritz had a great clay season last year and then had a terrible clay season this year. And it's sort of like the same situation apart from, yeah. So I just felt like this is like a natural course of a season taking place. But yeah, it's a great result for Rakimova. Absolutely. She played so well to cling on in that third. I mean, how often do you see it that in a WTA match that it's just the one break that decides it in the whole set? You know, you see it so often that there's a break at the start and then there's another break back halfway through, and then someone else breaks again for the match. But yeah, to be able to cling on, I mean, it's a great effort for Rakimova.
Absolutely. You know, I've got one upset of the day, and I'm not sure that I'm going to be here when we get to it. It's probably the single most heartbreaking, biggest upset that we saw in tennis today, and that was Lerner Tien falling in a close straight set match to Jari. But I think stay tuned for a little bit more there. Let's focus on Noskova and Lise. It seems like it was not a particularly entertaining match, 2-2 and 3, but 3 sets. Was there something that I missed? Was it just a tale of 2 different sets? Like, what's the deal with this one, guys?
I only caught kind of the middle part of the third set when Noskova got her decisive break. I was seeing some buzz on WTA Twitter about it, but pretty niche. I think Lise did get Noskova back with her counter punching, but it wasn't sustainable. Bit like what happened in round 2 of Roland Garros against Mboko. Noskova looking pretty good this Wimbledon. Has had a couple of decent results on grass. Obviously, quarterfinals in Nottingham, semi-finals in Bad Homburg. Could have beaten Pegula, and was actually Murta Tunga's pick to make the semis from this quarter. And he's looking like he might be correct at this point, but we'll have to see. It's a pretty close section. But Czechs and Wimbledon, that's a combination that seems to work well over the last couple of years.
It's pretty wide open, too. I mean, Fergus, do you think Noskova could go on a little run here based on what you saw today?
It doesn't strike me as a run, sort of. It depends what you mean by a run, as in round 4 or semi-finals. They're very different.
Let's say quarters. How about the quarters?
I don't see it. I think Lise actually played quite well today. It was just in that third set. She just got a little tight. I think I would actually caught the decisive break in the third as well. She just got a little tight on serve. But yeah, Noskova obviously having that overriding quality came through in the end.
You know, in the chat, there was a question, and I'd like y'all to, in fact, why don't we raise our hands based on the answer? Raise your hand if, and this is from Kirit, if you had Dalma Galfi in round 3.
I did not.
Couldn't be me. Did not see that one coming. What happened out there today? What a first set. Galfi clearly found it and sees it in set 2. Nick, what was this match like?
Only caught the very last game again when I saw there was something happening. Like I keep one of my screens just if there's like less than sort of 3 matches that I want to watch, I'll probably jump around to where the conclusions of matches are going. And what I saw in the end was Galfi was completely outplaying Haddad Maia. Like it was clearly a scrap. Like Haddad Maia will make you do in the first set, like really make it a marathon, dig in. But Galfi was pretty much out hitting her by the end. And I think Galfi obviously found something within herself to get this job done. Obviously, big result for the Hungarian. Into round 3 and another seed falls.
Another seed falls indeed. Fergus, anything to add about Haddad Maia or this match?
The mental shifts on both the ATP and WTA tour are exactly the same. That if you win one of these like incredibly tight sets, then the mental block to then fight back in the second becomes absolutely monumental. It was just, it was Galfi's day. And, I was tweeting about Galfi because she was playing Dart in round 1 and Dart took the first set and someone commented saying, it's not that hard when Galfi doesn't have a Grand Slam level forehand. And I think she's kind of just, shut them up. So, yeah.
You said, what about my forehand?
Exactly.
She's seen the tweet.
Like she's reading my tweet, but, it's fine.
A lot of the time, that's what they've got their phone in their towel during the changeovers and are just scrolling through WTA Twitter
or trying ATP to find them to motivate them.
Absolutely.
I would actually do that as well if I was a player, just to shut people up. But then it'd be so bad if you then lost. It would be terrible.
In basketball and in football, players are not allowed to tweet during the match. I assume that you can't during tennis matches.
You're not allowed to phone on court. I don't.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
right. That's right. Hence the infamous bathroom texting alleged incident with Tsitsipas, I believe, a few years back. With that, Anisimova continues to cruise after, I believe, getting a double bagel in round 1 against Poots, who is not perhaps at the height of her game, but a very, very solid win against Zarazua. Nick, Fergus, any takeaways from this match?
Zarazua is a very tricky player on the grass with the slice forehand and it's always gonna be tricky. She played Raducanu last year, first round, and it was like a little bit of a trying to figure her out first for the first set. But Anisimova just looks so good. Against Fonseca, that was an ugly match on every side of the net, especially with the fan ejection and that's not something that wants to be relived. But Anisimova is definitely someone that could make, a quarters here, even a semi, for me. I think that just her ball striking ability is so big. I don't think it quite rivals Keys, but on a day, it probably, it's up there. And, I would definitely be up for watching a Keys Anisimova semi-final, but I don't think that works on the draw.
No, it does.
It does.
I seed left in her quarter, 13.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. I forgot. Yes, she is.
Yeah.
So you heard it here first. A Keys Anisimova semi, yeah?
Yeah, which was the Queen's final we never got because Tatiana Maria happened.
Maria was just the GOAT.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Let's get into the next match, which I think in all seriousness is a comparable upset to the Lerner TN upset. Parí over Schneider in a convincing fashion. Fergus, what the heck happened out there? The qualifier having a heck of a run. Schneider not getting it done. How'd it happen?
Listen, Parí's a lot better than her ranking suggests right now. Obviously, a lot of injuries, kind of denying her that progress that she'd been making. Obviously, she's more known as I don't know, but I think she's more known as a clay player, but her game translates quite well to grass. And, those 3 matches in qualifying have given her all sorts of confidence, coming through relatively easily in all 3 of her qualifying matches, I believe. And this is even if she had the confidence for those 3 qualifying matches, this is a big upset. Schneider's a great grass court player. Won Berlin last year, didn't she? No, that was.
I had Schneider in my semis.
Bad Hamburg, sorry. Yeah, Berlin won. Pagula won Berlin last year. You can't win a 500 on grass and not be good on grass, right? So, yeah, big upset.
Nick, what are your takeaways from this match? Does this mean anything for Schneider, or was it just one of those days?
Schneider's been having one of those days a lot this season. Again, not super consistent, not at the moment, like not in the same way as she was last year. I think she's definitely transitioning to being a solid top 20 player, being tough. Like she's been on the fringes of top 10 and just not getting the results needed to push into there. I think I didn't really. I had the match on, but I wasn't really able to pay attention too much because there was too much else going on. But what I was watching was when I could watch it, I was just enjoying Deanne Parí in full flow. Deanne Parí is one of my favorite WTA players to watch.
That one-hander is so good.
Not only the one-hander, that beautiful topspin forehand she's got is fantastic. It is a combination of everything I love in tennis shots. So I'm just very pleased to see her make the 3rd round.
Something tells me that Johnny P does not like British players. I just have a feeling.
I have Parí, and now seeing the matchup, I think Parí takes this in round 3. I don't want to spend too long on the preview, but I think that's a spicy-ish take, but not a scorching hot take. That Parí's the favorite.
I feel like I want to let Fergus take this one because I actually don't feel like I can speak into this. I kind of had Cartel on. I was impressed at how well she came through that match, but I wasn't paying close attention to it because she seemed to be winning it quite comfortably.
Yeah, Cartel was very comfortable today. I think it was 24 winners. She's so strong off that topspin forehand. Obviously, it's topspin forehand, heavy topspin forehand, isn't something that you translate well to the grass, but it works. And with how her height actually gives her an advantage here with how flat she strikes the ball. And, she's so good in and out of the corners. It was really comfortable today. For Parí, I think this is definitely going to be close, but I still feel like Cartel with, sort of like all the logistics of home crowd. And, I just feel like she probably has the edge. I mean, as much as Ostapenko was a seriously strange match first round, I still feel like that confidence is still buzzing through her to kind of reach her best ever result at a slam before. Yeah. And not that Parí hasn't been playing well, and I'm sure Parí will. This is pretty much as 50-50 for me as it gets. Yeah, I feel as though it's super tight, but yeah, I think it just about cartels for me.
I caught about 5 games of Cartel against Ostapenko in the Eastbourne match they played, and she looked terrible. It was just like one of those perfect storms where I just happened to catch probably her worst 5 games.
Did you watch the first 5 games of?
Yes,
you watched the first
and then I
5
turned it
games?
off,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so that's really my only viewing experience with her this year. And so in my head, like I keep being surprised by her results the last 2 now. But look, she's a heck of a player. Fergus, I think it's a great point. Like when the surface is grass, it's not as much of a disadvantage to be low to the ground. Obviously the ball doesn't bounce that much. I think especially with her flat style, that makes sense. Yet another seed falls in Kruger. And then slightly below that, we see a familiar name, an unseeded player who's in a mighty good position to make a run. Osaka getting it done in convincing fashion. Gentlemen, how optimistic are we feeling about Naomi Osaka? Not very. Okay, tell us why, Fergus.
I just don't trust. I don't trust it. I want to trust it so bad, but I just don't. I just can't. I can't get fully behind the train that Osaka can make the quarters here.
You've been hurt before. You don't want to be hurt again. Is that what you're saying?
Not all there. You can't tell me she's had this sort of a season so far, and then suddenly at the arguably the biggest tournament of the year, she's going to put it all together and she's going to, make the semis. I just don't see it. I actually think Pavlyuchenkova is a real tough challenge. If she comes through Pavlyuchenkova, she then has a very good, I think she's 100% favorite of, whoever comes through Cartel Parí, but she needs to get through Pavlyuchenkova first.
Mr. Carter, do you concur? And any takeaways from this Osaka match?
I concur completely with Fergus. Like, absolutely. Thank you very much, Dr. DiCaprio. I think I was impressed by Osaka dealing with Siaka's variety pretty well in that match. She looked like through this grass court season that she was going to start something, and then it just didn't materialize. She'd always lose before the quarterfinals, which for me is kind of the benchmark if you're going to do something at Wimbledon, is do you make the quarterfinals of a grass warm-up? Forget winning it, just make the quarters. So to me, like, that's kind of holding her back. But like, if she's going to do it, the draw's opened up. But I agree with Fergus. Pavlyuchenkova's tough, and that's going to decide how well this Wimbledon run goes, I think.
Yeah. And we are approaching the end of my time as host today, and I've got to get moving. Before I do, I have one final question. Jake Davies puts in the chat, Zach is a great host, by the way. Fergus, the question is to you. Is that completely true or simply mostly true?
No, I reckon that's completely true.
Oh, Fergus.
Can we have Zach again, please?
Yeah, I would. Never fails to be entertaining.
It is always a pleasure being on with both of y'all. Nick, I think this is our first stream since the finals of the French Open.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty good one. That's tough to top. This was good, but that was like, we had the 2 best players in the sport going at it for 6.5 hours or whatever it was. But listen, have a great rest of the stream. Folks in the chat, thanks so much for joining. As always, stick around. There's a ton more. There's all the action on the men's side of things and a couple more matches on the women's side. And as our producer put on the screen, if you haven't liked it and subscribed, what's wrong with you? Just do it. Just do it. We're going to keep asking you. Do it. Later, guys.
Thanks,
Zach. Well, yeah, let's face it. Zach and I were being carried by the 2 best players in the world on that stream. And now the audience will have to deal with 2 somewhat tired Brits to take us through.
Which Johnny is clearly fuming about because he's just, hates Brits. But, moving on.
Well, look, what I was going to say, I think Cartel does have a good chance of making 4th round, especially given how much he's playing. Pavlyuchenkova for Osaka. Who's winning that and why?
I don't know. It's a real toss-up for me. I don't want to say Osaka because I just feel like there's a chance she loses like 3-3. But like, Yeah, I'm gonna go Pavlyuchenkova. I just feel like I have more confidence in her game on this surface and this season, that she will get it done. Even if it's ugly, she'll get it done. This will probably still be like court 3 or court 2, I would assume. But yeah, I feel as though sort of like the bigger the occasion, the more likely it is Pavlyuchenkova will come through for me.
I think we're getting close to the wall in terms of quality that Osaka couldn't get over this grass court season.
Yeah.
I think Pavlyuchenkova is it. I think Pavlyuchenkova's results, not only on grass this season, because I think she made the quarters in Eastbourne, or even the semis, actually. She made the semis, lost to Maya Joint.
Yes, she did.
But also, she has that Australian Open quarterfinal under her belt.
She does.
That's very similar results to what Krejcikova got last year. Not predicting Pavlyuchenkova to win Wimbledon necessarily, although, stranger things have happened.
Stranger things have happened.
She's got the quality for it. She's reached a slam final before. Good grief, this is sounding increasingly like someone who could end up randomly winning Wimbledon. Anyway, to me, I think results-wise and sort of form-wise, I am going to back Pavlyuchenkova to win this one. I know there's a lot of optimism around Osaka, which I also want to get on board with, but it's just not happening. So maybe it'll happen when we take the pressure off.
Not Pavi G. Yeah, obviously not Pavi G. Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like there's this wall that is, as you were talking about, that Osaka just has been hitting, and every time she's got to a point in a season where everyone's like, oh, she's back, and it's been like she can't quite break through the wall, and I still feel like the wall is there.
She's got her own wall at Wimbledon. This is the third time she's made the third round. It's the first time in 7 years, and she's not got past this point. So
exactly,
this would be a big breakthrough for her on multiple levels if she were to win that match.
It would be.
Are we ready for the men's?
We are, I believe.
All right. So I don't know. Producer, where do you want us to start? Do you want to start with Alcaraz, or do you want us to start with Fritz, who was the last ball to drop?
Technically was the last ball to drop. Yeah.
Fritz was the last ball to drop in his.
I think we should probably start with Fritz.
Let's start with Fritz. Okay, so Fritz is doing Fritz things and has gone 5 sets again with Gabriel Diallo. Probably didn't need to go 5 sets, much like GMP did not need to go 5 sets. Fortunately, they weren't necessarily long 5-setters, so he's got the job done. And actually, he'll ironically be fresher because his potential next opponent didn't finish their match. But yeah, Fergus, talk to me about sort of your views on Fritz this Wimbledon so far.
It's been interesting. I feel like Fritz is making this a lot harder for himself than he needs to be, with arguably the most in-form grass court player at the moment, apart from Alcaraz. You feel as though he's just making hard work for himself. Obviously, I feel like GMP is completely different, mainly because he's the biggest server on tour, without a doubt. And it's you're always going to have a challenge if you can't find that one crucial break, even though Fritz is a huge server as it is. But Diallo was a tricky customer. Absolutely. You can't sit there and say, oh yeah, Fritz will win this in 3 so easily, because it's just not that easy. Diallo also a big server, that forehand +1 just working wonders for him. But I think in the 5th, Diallo did so well to fight back in the 4th actually, and then in the 5th I think Diallo did something to his wrist, and it kind of took his confidence out the game for that +1 forehand. And Fritz got the break, 2 sloppy, well, not sloppy misses, but it's points that Diallo would have expected to win. And he kind of broke from there. And then, I feel like one break in Diallo Fritz is definitely enough to secure the set.
Yeah, it's just that thing. And I think Diallo just struggled to maintain the intensity required. What do you make of, because there's a lot of chat going on, and I've seen this in other places as well. Do you think Fritz's draw is pretty tough? We're saying he's made life hard for himself, but it's kind of being made hard for him as well. He's potentially got ABF next, and then it gets it doesn't get easier until the fourth round potentially.
No, it's pretty bad. But I mean, if there's a possibility he could just keep winning 5-setters, and yeah, he could just keep going, keep motoring, until I think potentially his quarterfinal is.
Well, he's the highest seed left in his quarter.
Sick.
Like he's the only top 10 player left. Like the next highest player left in his section is Khachanov, who would be.
Yeah, I can't remember who he'd have in quarters.
Well, it would have been.
It would have been
Zverev.
Zverev. Oh, and I mean, he would have won against Zverev anyway, because he's his dad. But
Khachanov is the highest seed left in that section. Is the only.
I mean,
seed left in that section.
I'd back Fritz to get past Khachanov, and then semis, anything could happen. But yeah, I mean, Fritz is in a good position. Unfortunately, Jake, it won't. I mean, if it is Ferry, I'd be absolutely astounded because he's got a lot to work with Darderi. But we'll get on with that. Get onto that in a second. But yeah, Fritz is playing well. Yeah.
For me, Fritz should be if he doesn't run out of gas after all these 5-setters.
Yes,
they're not necessarily long 5-setters, so it might.
Grass is obviously different on the body, it's a lot. If we were playing a Roland Garros and he's playing all these back-to-back 5-setters, he's absolutely cooked. There's no way he's competing.
This is kind of giving me vibes of like, do you remember that Roland Garros where Andy Murray got to the final and he played 2 5-setters to start with?
What in
2016?
Yeah, 16. Yeah.
Just give me vibes of that. I don't think he's going to the final because I don't see Taylor Fritz beating Carlos Alcaraz, but. I do think that he's got this opportunity there to finally get that Wimbledon semi-final after coming so close a couple of times now.
A couple of times, yeah.
So we've got a few other matches here. Like there's some incomplete ones. So I'm just going to ask you 2 questions you can just rattle off the answers to back to back. Yep. Do you think ADF gets it done against Botic? And do you think Foki gets it done against Botic? I should say. I don't know which nickname you want to go with.
Yeah.
And do you think there is a possibility that Ferry does the 2 sets to love comeback against Darderi?
I think Foki gets it done. I think it was 5-all. He had a match point. Foki did. It was saved by Botic. And yeah, I think we're currently at 5-all in the 4th.
Yeah.
I think Foki gets it done.
ADF did serve 4.
Sorry, say that again.
Fokina did serve for the 4th.
No. He had a match point on Botic's serve at 5.
Oh right.
I'm
sure it was a break up as well. Anyway, but maybe you're right.
Yeah. But I think Foki gets it done just about. Probably, I think in that sort of situation, I feel as though because you're sitting on it overnight, you're much more confident being Davidovich Fokina right now than you are Van der Zandschulp, plainly because you lose 2 games and you've lost the match. Not that you have a whole nother set to play. Now, Ferry Darderi is a completely different proposition. If you weren't watching Ferry Darderi, I actually feel like you were missing out. The way that Darderi was striking the ball was actually a bit of a joke. Literally just unleashing on every single ball without relenting. And it was actually really entertaining. Ferry was actually, Johnny was right, Ferry was unlucky. There was a really bad net cord at 3-all. I think. 4-3 break point for Ferry and net cord, and it meant that Darderi could recover. But hopefully Ferry can come out swinging in the 3rd and kind of take a set maybe, and then you have to rebuild from there. But it's a long way back. But quality wise, there isn't that big of a difference, which is crazy to think that Ferry is, I think, 431 in the world, and Darderi is 71. But Ferry really is more around the 220 mark. But still,
Yeah. I did have the match on. I wasn't paying attention to it because I think there was a couple of other things. I think I was trying to figure out what was going with Pavlyuchenko, the Kruger.
Oh, yeah. I also Paolini was probably
with Fritz as well.
Yeah, Paolini was on at the same time, I think.
Paolini, yeah. So, maybe I think maybe the optimism comes from the fact that in terms of quality, they weren't far off from each other. So
yeah,
let's see what happens. Maybe we'll see another big ball striking second.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm actually at Wimbledon tomorrow, so I'll be hopefully sneaking onto court to
Court
watch.
2?
Is it court? Is it on court 2 tomorrow?
I thought it was a court 2 match, so that's where it was going to be.
It was a court 2 match, so it will be on. Oh yeah. Well, I'm hoping to get resale tickets for court 1 so I can sneak onto Draper, but that's another conversation.
See which we can get. Well, good luck tomorrow. I hope you have fun. Great day out as always.
Absolutely.
All right, and then our other big 5-set of the day was Jordan Thompson beating Benjamin Bonzi, the conqueror of Daniel Medvedev. Thompson gets an epic done on grass. What's new?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's pretty standard, right? Thompson, having success in the doubles here previously, he's a good grass court player. And Bonzi Medvedev said it in his post-match interview, right? He said, Bonzi won't play this well again for the entire year and then gets knocked out second round. And that's just pretty, standard stuff. You see it so often that when players, create a huge upset, that they struggle to repeat that sort of level in the next round because, they don't have that extra motivation that this is like, I don't know, the third best or the fourth best player in the world. Like the chances of Rindik Nesh getting knocked out tomorrow are probably pretty high because he won't feel as good playing. I don't even know who he's supposed to be playing, but
Garin.
Sorry? Garin.
Playing Garin, and he's 2 sets to 1 up.
Okay, maybe. Okay,
I take that
back about
Rindik Nesh. Scroll down.
I take that back about Rindik Nesh, but it's like Van der Sandschulp, like you beat Alcaraz in straights and then lost to Draper in straights the next round. Like it's like you struggle to repeat that sort of performance, but good win for Jordan Thompson.
Yeah. All right, new section, and this is this is the bloodbath section. This is if Damien Kuss has a favorite section of the draw.
Oh, I mean, it's gonna be this one, right? Yeah.
It's gonna be this one. So let's have a look. So Billy Harris tried to keep up with Nuno Borges, but just couldn't. Like there was a tight tie break. He could have extended the match.
It was on Harris's racket. He had 2 set points. Missed realistically, I think there was a sliced backhand that passed Borges and missed by, I think it was 4 millimeters. Everyone thought it was in and it was out, and then he had it on his own racket, missed the first serve, and was disappointing. Kind of was keeping up in that entire third set, just the one break in the other 2, but disappointing for Billy. They didn't nick a set, but Borges looking really strong, especially off that backhand wing on the run. Really good.
I like Borges on grass. I hadn't thought about it before, but actually don't think he has a terrible record. So
no.
So
it works.
Yeah, works. So tough for Harris, but Borges in a strong position now. It's interesting to see how that match with Khachanov goes, who had a scare. There was a point where I was like, oh my gosh, there's literally going to be no seeds left in this section.
It's going to be absolute carnage. Yeah. I mean, Khachanov survives. I mean, how many times have we said that one player survives? Or actually not that many. There haven't been that many survivals. It's more been that they lose, right? These seeds. But was pushed all the way today by Mochizuki, and he's been really strong on the grass this year. Obviously at Wimbledon, obviously coming through qualifying, played that. Oh no, sorry, that was I'm thinking of the wrong match. But I mean, after the first set 6-1, you're kind of thinking, it's like Khachanov kind of not feeling his way into the match, and you see it so often that the big names drop the first set because they're just not feeling as strong, and then they work themselves into the match, and he did, but then it was tough. It was tough from there. Mochizuki made it tough to break, and that all important break right in the 5th was all that was needed for Khachanov, because especially with his serve, you feel as though when you have on the grass, usually one break is enough to secure the set, but especially when you have someone like Khachanov, the chances of you breaking back come down to how tight he's feeling, really. and well, how well you're returning. You know, if you're standing on the baseline slapping his first serve away, then fair enough. But he wasn't doing that. So yeah, good win for Kachanov.
Good win for Kachanov. Mochizuki closes his very impressive glass grass court season with that would be fun. Grass court season with tough loss, but he was in those last two sets. Like I did feel like I think he did break back at one point, and then again, and then last set I do think he had some opportunities to maybe break back and make it an interesting fifth. So some positives for him to take away. Not many positives for Ethan Quinn to take away against Kamil Majczak, who crushed him.
Yeah, this was a beatdown. Majczak just keeping the ball super flat and Quinn having nothing in his strike zone. I'm actually just repeating Damien's tweet right now if anyone's gonna catch me up on that. Just nothing in Quinn's strike zone, you know, nice and up by his hip, trying to just unleash on that forehand. But yeah, Majczak just playing really nicely, made the third round for the second year in a row, I think. But as Johnny was saying, the flat backhand, just, you know, too much to deal with for Quinn. But yeah.
Yeah. Tough one for Quinn today. Majczak flat shots, perfect on the surface, and he will play the Christian Garin or Artur Rinderknecht, which was suspended after Rinderknecht won a third set tiebreak to go 2-1 up. So Garin very keen for the match to be suspended at that point.
Yeah,
and Rinderknecht didn't really argue with it. So we will be resuming on second on court 17 tomorrow. To see whether Rinderknecht can get the job done. In light of what I said earlier, are you feeling relatively optimistic about that, or do you think we're going to see a Garin come back?
No, I still think Rinderknecht will. Rinderknecht kind of strikes me as the kind of person that doesn't feel bothered about these stoppages in play. I feel like he just goes out there and just plays whatever he feels like, whether it's, you know, his worst tennis or his best tennis.
Well, you know, if he gets the job done, he's potentially going to play 5 days in a row on a Grand Slam, which is crazy. So let's see how much energy he would have for Majczak. If that happens, I mean, that could be quite an entertaining match if we get that.
Yeah. Can you imagine doing this to the French? I mean, you'd just be absolutely cooked.
You wouldn't have a chance.
No, you'd be absolutely ruined. Yeah.
So this section of the draw has holes in it, but
so many.
We will get there. Let's try and find a nice full section, shall we? As we head down into probably more normal service received. As we're into the Rublev section, I suppose, which I thought was in the section above to potentially be a quarterfinals opponent for Alcaraz, and then somebody rightly, I think it was you or Vanch, rightly corrected me, and actually,
yes,
Rublev is actually potentially the last 16 opponent for Alcaraz. That is where we're at. But he's not the first match we are going to be talking about, because this next match is Nico Jarry against Leonard Tien, just blasting him away. And Jarry seems to have suddenly found some form on the grass.
Well, you know, it's strange. Obviously, Jarry has dropped out the world's top 130 after losing all those points in Rome. But he's found his form on the grass. Came through qualifying, obviously, quite easily. Jarry's obviously a step above all the guys in qualifying. I mean, he would have had to have an absolutely shocker of a draw in qualifying to not come through. But Tien, it's another beatdown, really, of an American. Just Jarry serving so big, and Tien can't really get a look in. And just Jarry all over that Tien second serve, you know, whether he's either kicking it into the backhand, Jarry just using it cross court as much as possible, trying to keep it super flat. I actually agree with Johnny here that I feel like Jarry does get past Fonseca. Not easily, but I feel like he does. But, you know, we'll save that for another day. But yeah, another great performance from Jarry after, you know, he put in all that work in round one to get past Runa. And then, you know, this is kind of, he's reaping the rewards now. He has a more open draw. And, you know, this is what he gets for, you know, pushing that much in round one.
Yeah, and don't forget, Jarry has beaten. Well, not beaten. He pushed Alcaraz in 23 when Alcaraz won it. So he does have some track record on grass. The serve really, really helps. And well, let's talk about Fonseca. Before we kind of get to how that match is going to go. And by the way, there is, as you've seen on the screen, a preview prediction for that match that's already been recorded, so you can go and watch that after you finish watching this. I had Fonseca Brooksby on as a kind of my small screen, I'll check the score time of thing. And that's what I was doing. But the my Twitter, when I was checking that, was like going mental for this match, despite it being 4 sets. Like Brooksby made it a real fight. That fourth set was well over an hour. And Fonseca wins it, but it was a real battle.
Yeah, it was. And Brooksby just makes it as awkward as possible in all situations, just because the game he has. I mean, now sitting at before this, his 2 losses were Draper and Fritz in, this grass court season. I mean, that's not 2 that you want to, you don't feel as though that's a letdown when you lose to those 2 on grass. So, yeah. Jensen did well to take the second, but I just think it was getting a bit much for him. How rowdy. I think they're on, I can't remember, was it?
Court 12.
Court 12. I think it was getting pretty rowdy on court 12.
They could hear, they would say, like Jose Morgado tweeted saying they could hear the Brazilian fans on center court.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. So Fonseca did super well. He did well to, actually take his opportunity, because he had, I think, 3 break points at 1-1 in the 4th and didn't take any of them. Did well to reset. But yeah, Jensen, again, our producer is saying Jensen didn't take his opportunities on the Fonseca serve. But I think it's easy to say that because Fonseca is serving deceptively big. And, it's become a big weapon for him. He's, on the clay, he's just spamming the kick serve. But, on the grass, he's letting it rip. And, I think he was against Fernley, he was getting up to 135, which, is pretty good. Yeah.
Well, on that basis, then, Jarry Fonseca might have a few tie breaks.
Yes. Yeah.
And in which case, it might come down to who has the better return, which, would you say that was Fonseca?
I don't know. It depends how Jarry's playing. I mean, Jarry once was, I think, 19, 17 in the world. I mean, it's not like he doesn't have the game. Yeah, but I don't know. It depends. If I feel like as soon as you get Fonseca into a 5th set, whoever is playing has the edge. Fonseca is yet to win a 5-setter. He's the only 5-setter he's played was against Sonego, and he lost in Australia. Yeah, I feel as though you take it long and you have the advantage, mainly because Zhao just isn't fully physically developed to take on that brutal 5-setter. Maybe that kind of takes away because of the surface he's on at the moment, but I still feel like nerves and all that sort of stuff comes into play.
Yeah, I think Jarry's experience may well come through in that match.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that might be the deciding factor there. I do think the serve is going to help him out a lot. So yeah, I mean, look, I think I've been controversial in the group and gone for Jarry to make the quarters out of this section, which may not necessarily be great for those for our fellow Nori Nation Brits, but I'm not necessarily as optimistic about these things. We'll get to Cameron Norrie in a second, but we'll talk about his opponent first. Like, Mattia Bellucci just played an insane match to beat Jiri Lehečka.
And Bellucci can do this. I feel like I'm like saying the same thing over and over again about all Italians ranked like 50 to 70, that they have the ability to play like 2 or 3 absolutely insane sets of tennis. Like Bellucci loves to mix it up and actually has quite a nice game for grass, a pretty decent serve. I say pretty decent, obviously, but in terms of tour wise, has a pretty decent serve, the +1 forehand and how well he can strike the backhand on the run. But yeah, I think Bellucci was playing super well, but again, Lehečka completely locking out, which is what he does sometimes when, he's in this sort of situation. In that second set, Lehechka was just not playing like anywhere near the level he was playing at Queens, which is such a disappointment because, you make the Queens final and he must have been feeling good coming into Wimbledon. And, he wasn't overly convincing against Delian because thinking about how much of a grass court player Delian actually is. But yeah, it's disappointing for Lehechka and it's great for Bellucci.
With the exits of Rune and now Lehechka, I don't think Carlos Alcaraz really has any
opponents,
challenges,
like worries. No worries at the moment. Yeah,
at all. Potentially not even till the final, depending on whether Taylor Fritz makes it or not.
Yeah.
Could be Karen Khachanov, but I doubt it. So yeah, that could be. So this makes the section very interesting, which is why then Bellucci. The question is whether is Bellucci an opportunity or a problem for Cameron Norrie, who came through against Francis Tiafoe today in a four-setter, which I thought was a pretty good four-setter. Like, I really enjoyed the tennis we got in that match. It was so exciting. There was a lot of really dynamic stuff going on. I thought Norrie was the most exciting I've ever seen him. So
I actually think if Norrie plays like he did against... I had to bring that up. Our producer just had to throw that on screen.
What did you
do? It's just a running joke.
I must be out of the loop on that one.
Yeah, it's a running joke. If Norrie plays like he did against Tiafoe, I think he does beat Bellucci. All credit to Norrie today. That's the best I've seen him play probably in about 3 years. Really, since his Wimbledon semi-final run. His biggest win must be since he actually beat Alcaraz in Rio in 23, I think. Or just off the top of my head. But excellent win. He was all over the Tiafoe second serve. Did so well. Tiafoe was a little flat at times. And I feel like you can kind of maybe explain that second set when, Tiafoe broke back and he should have really had opportunities to bring up set points. But Norrie served exceedingly well today. Norrie isn't known for his serve, but it was definitely on today. And, if he plays like he did against Tiafoe, then Bellucci's going to have some issues. And I think that Norrie does come through. And then, it's we'll wait to see whether it's Jarry or Fonseca, but that's a completely different task to Bellucci. I think he's just got to, think about all the slices and dices that Bellucci's going to throw his way.
Yeah, which, let's face it, Cam doesn't have a problem getting down and dirty. And
absolutely he doesn't, no. Yeah.
So that's cool. All right, that's that section done. And I almost skipped past it, but actually this is probably one of the most interesting sections remaining.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be honest, probably if not the most. There's a couple of contenders for Damien Koost's favourite section. We'll have to ask him in person. It's a shame he's not on. I would have asked him which it was. Right, Rublev loses a tough first set on a tie break, gets the job done. Dare we say he's starting to look more like the Rublev we recognize?
Oh, we can't say that because we just don't know. We all know exactly what we're going to get from Rublev, right? But it's the same old, but it's just how many forehands he's landing right in the corner. Lloyd Harris is an excellent grass court player. Very, very strong. And that's a tough second round draw, pardon me. But did well to come through. Obviously lost that tough first set tiebreak and then, kind of made up for it in that second set, got the break. And then, kind of played it out from there. And you felt as though as soon as he took the third, Harris was going to have to do a lot to take it away from Rublev, especially with how well Andre was serving. So, hats off to Rublev because this was 100% a banana skin for Rublev and a match that we've seen him lose in the past, especially in the past 6 months.
Is Adrian Manarino a banana skin after his 4-set win over Royer today?
Plainly because it's Adrian Manarino, yes. It's like I have no idea what Manarino is going to do. Like, just such a tricky grass court player. And he did super well against Royer today. comes through qualifying. I mean, both of them come through qualifying, but Mannarino comes through qualifying. I think this is his 14th Wimbledon in a row. And, you know, this is where he's had his best results because, you know, with the way he strikes the ball, that string tension being like 0. Yeah, it's super impressive. And maybe Mannarino could take a set off Rublev, but I think I don't know how it'll play out. I think these guys have probably played maybe once or twice, maybe in 23, in the start of 24 when Mannarino was like 23 in the world. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting, I think.
Yeah, that is going to be an interesting one. And Mannarino, the ultimate wild card, especially on
Yeah.
grass.
Yeah.
I'm going to skip past the blank match for the moment. Let's do the biggest mismatch in the draw on ranking, which was the world number 2 against the world 719, Ollie Tarvett against Carlos Alcaraz. By the way, Tarvett was the 719, not the world number 2. And let's face it, that match, you could see the difference in the ranking watching it. Tarvett, I thought, played really bravely, really well, but you could see he was fighting for every single point, and credit to him for winning as many as he did.
Yeah, I think the physicality that Tarvett brought to the match court was insane. The fact he managed to keep it up for all 3 sets was very, very impressive, like sliding around like it was a clay court, to be honest, and making Alcaraz play every single ball. And to be honest, he actually stole a lot of points from Alcaraz and made him play a lot more than I think Alcaraz was expecting. And I think Tarvett played himself, you know, did himself very proud. But, you know, it was never going to be, you know, I mean, if Tarvett had pulled it off,
it would be the greatest upset of all time.
Upset of all time. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, even that round 1 win, he's played so well this week, and you know he can be so proud of how he's come through the first 3 rounds of qualifying, and then round 1, you know, just the 412 ranking places gained up to 312 now, I believe, in the ranking,
which is amazing. And he's going to need that for when he comes out of college and joins the pros properly.
I mean, that kicks him straight into challenger qualifications, right? And then and especially in the future, I can see him being so dangerous in and out of like around the court. He was so fast around the court, and that backhand is actually super strong. You usually see with these younger sorts of players that, you know, they all have that big forehand, you know, that they can hit on the run, and they can, you know, make the pass from anywhere. But I think the backhand actually shone today as sort of like a really steady sort of weapon that he can develop really nicely. And the serve isn't sloppy either. I think he was hitting 130 mph. So yeah, really impressed with him. But Carlos obviously too good. A lot easier day at the office for him than now Fognini.
Yes, he probably would have preferred it the other way around.
Yeah, he probably would have.
But with Tarvett, I think it's interesting because when this matchup was, you know, we first knew it was going to happen, my brain immediately went to Roger Federer versus Marcus Willis.
Yeah.
The difference this time is that Marcus Willis was kind of that we knew that was going to be the only time we ever saw him, really.
Yeah. I actually
later in his career, but Tarvett is just starting.
Yeah. I actually got to interview Marcus Willis in September, and we were talking about the Federer match, and he just said, you know, he was just there just because it was just such a surreal experience. And you know, there's a bit of a clip of Willis lobbing Federer, and he said that was just such a good moment. Like, it's just what you want. Like, it's one of those, even though the match was completely one-sided, like that moment is what you live for, right? When you're on a tennis court. But yeah.
By the way, Johnny, I'm wondering why Tarvett's not going pro. The reason is he's loyal to his college. He wants to get see the season out with them, and you know, help them get the titles. So he's a team player and he's loyal. So I'm not going to criticize him for that.
And how often have we seen now how college players have become, how playing in college has made players so much better. Instead of turning pro when you're 18, they turn pro when they're 22, and they make waves immediately. I mean, look at Fernley's rise. Came out of college, and a year later, he's ranked 49 in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, he's going to be. I think he's going to be a factor. I think we're going to look forward to seeing him pull off some Wimbledon heroics in the future. Do you want to try and answer Jake's question? I think I know one of them. I think one of them's Daniel Medvedev, and then
Oh, I think I actually saw that. Yeah, because I was trying to do some research, and I think it was one. One of them was Medvedev.
And I think the other one, I'm going to go with Rublev, maybe, or Goff. No, not Goffin. Goffin was high enough, ranked in 2016. I'm going to go with Medvedev and Rublev. Medvedev is definitely right.
I think there's a spot on. Yeah.
And like this is obviously baby Med.
Yeah, baby Med and baby Rublev. Yeah.
If I'm right with Rublev, I think I'm not very confident with the Rublev answer, but
yeah.
Oh, I've got it. Fantastic. Thanks, Jake. So there we go. All right. So, and then you beat Berankis as well. So,
I think that's all of them.
Yeah, that's all of them.
Yeah.
Reading Jake's chat. So,
yeah.
Let's do the last match. So, it's 1-1 between Felix Auger-Aliassime and Jan-Lennard Struff. Felix had set points at 6-3, 2 of them on his serve in the tiebreak to go 2 sets to love up. Loses both of them really scruffily. It gets into a bit of a scrap, and then Struff wins it 11-9 in the tiebreak, and then they spend the match. So how do you see the rest of that working out? I think Felix is probably quite glad.
Absolutely.
Reset
if you were Struff, you'd be fuming, right? Like absolutely seething. You've just won an epic tiebreak, and then you have to go inside and sleep on it. Like it's brutal.
It's reminding me of the Rington-Zverev match from a couple of days ago.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I still feel like Struff is more fired up coming out on this one. I mean, Struff's had a really, really not a good year in terms of consistency and results, and it's really I don't like to see it because I really like Struff as a player and I really like his game. Auger-Aliassime not having a good year either. Actually,
promising start,
but had like a crazy good start, and then just slowly is just I think Struff comes through. I agree with Johnny here. I think Struff comes through in 4, maybe 5. Second on court 18. I believe I might be actually on there I might try and get on that court first because Pennington Jones is first on the court 18. So
is he 18? Yeah, with Kabali.
Yeah. So I might be, if I don't get if I have to wait a little bit to get court 1 tickets, then I'll be on court 18 hopefully watching Pennington Jones. But I'll definitely stick around for Auger-Aliassime Struff.
Do you not need to go to bed? Like you've got to join the queue in
No, I've got ground pass tickets. Sorry.
Oh, you already got them. Fantastic.
I have a friend that hooked me up. So yeah, okay. I have ground pass tickets. Absolutely, I would not be doing this if I needed to get in the queue in 5 hours.
Yeah, fair enough. I thought I would check, but
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You have friends in high places, Fergus. So we're going for that. So okay, we are pretty much there. I guess my thing is looking at the outcome of that match. Both Felix and Struff have history of making Alcaraz's life hard.
Yeah,
that could be an interesting third round.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, actually, I feel like Struff would actually be a bigger test for Alcaraz than Auger would be. I was just actually thinking that Felix has had this situation of going 2 sets to love up in slams in the first round and then being beaten 3-2 in the last 3 out of 4 slams.
Yeah.
And it kind of could have been exactly the same situation, but Struff kind of stole that breaker from him. And now we're in a completely new scenario that Felix hasn't been in over a year. So I don't know, maybe this is also almost like a bit of fresh air that he's not taken the first two and that he's in a bit of a different battle for once. But I actually think if Struff was to, play this sort of match, was to come through and play Alcaraz, I feel like it would definitely be more interesting than Felix. I feel like Felix's game is just completely shut down by Carlos, unfortunately, and Struff adds a little bit of extra, something that you don't quite predict. But yeah.
All right. Well, I think let's close this episode in the next 5 minutes. I think what we should do is do a quick look ahead to tomorrow. Obviously, we've got a few previous predictions. We do have a live stream because Damien's going to be covering de Minaur on court 2. De Minaur Cazaux. That was right. I was. It has an X in it somewhere. The name. I'm tired. And it's almost midnight UK time. But yeah, so Fergus, obviously you are going to be at Wimbledon.
I will be
tomorrow. So do you want to maybe give us the matches that you most want to see when you're there, and maybe also the matches that you would recommend people watch, like you think you're at home you'd be watching?
Yeah. I will definitely be sticking around for Evans Djokovic just for old time's sake. I think it'll just be interesting to see how that one plays out. Probably Shelton Hijikata is something that I'm actually looking forward to seeing, just another test for Ben. There's a lot of talk in this chat that Ben is like going to go really deep at this slam, and I'm interested to see. Dimitrov Mute is something that everyone should watch. I think that will definitely be interesting, just plainly because it's Mute. If Dimitrov doesn't retire, I'm praying he doesn't. Praying. And then on the women's side, take it away. You're obviously the expert on the women's side.
Oh my word, they've scheduled all the really, really good ones at the same time, which is annoying. But slams do this, and usually not the start of the day, right in the middle of it. So I mean, Kudermetova Navarro on number 3 court, I think could be pretty good. I think they're both decent on grass. And obviously, Veronika Kudermetova has a habit of deciding who wins Wimbledon. Not saying if Navarro beats her, she wins Wimbledon. I'm going to make do with semi-finals and not push any further. But, that could be an interesting test to see where Navarro is at. And then other than that, I think these are matches that are sort of happening around the same time. You've got Sakkari Rybakina on court 1. I think Rebecca's going to be the heavy favourite given Sakkari on grass, but, Sakkari's a big-ish name still. Krejcikova's going to play Dolhide. You've got Tauson Kalinskaya is going to be fun if Kalinskaya is fit and firing, because that's going to be some big hitting. Wonder what Alexandrova will do against Susan Leymans. That could be, that's probably going to depend on whether Alexandrova finds the court or not. And then, I think those are probably the main ones I will kind of take away from that. I will say that in terms of the men, why is nobody hyping up Draper Cilic? Because I think that could be really exciting.
I think it could be, but I think Cilic has got to serve like 85% first serves. I just don't feel like he has the ground game anymore to compete with Draper. Really, I just feel like if soon as you neutralize the first serve, I feel like Jack's got him in any sort of rally that he can pull him in and out the corners with the forehand. I wouldn't be surprised if Cilic takes a set, and maybe Draper in 4, but I think it's not at this point now. As much as I like watching Cilic, and especially how good he is on the grass, I feel like as soon as you take away that first serve, if Cilic isn't having a good serving day, even if Draper isn't, I still feel like Draper is clear favourite.
And obviously his draw opened up after Bublik went out. So.
It's opened up very nicely. My word, when Munar won against Bublik, I audibly felt about 10 kilos off of my shoulders. Yeah.
Well, there we go. So you're going to try and get into, and obviously you're going to be hoping for that resale for court
1. I'm getting there. My train gets in at 9:15, and then I'll be heading, as soon as gates open, I'll be heading straight to resale. See if they've got anything for me. If they don't, then I'll wait a little bit, but and then I'll be heading to court 18.
Well, good luck with that. Especially
Thank you very much.
Because obviously there's going to be loads of people trying to get onto court 18 to watch Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The other Jack. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Bit of an anecdote, but I went to Wimbledon with my mum on Tuesday.
Yes.
And, my her mum was trying to kind of find out where we were and which matches we were on. I said, "Oh, Jack Draper's going to be on court 17." I was like, "No, he's not."
No, he's not.
Got mixed up with
No, he's
Jack
not.
Jones. She heard a Jack. Like, don't worry, not quite, Gran.
Thanks, Johnny. I went last year, so I know where the resale is. But yeah.
Yes, they've moved it because
it's at the top of Henman Hill.
Yeah, because it used to be sort of by court 18, didn't it? So
yeah. Well, I mean, they're kind
above.
of similar. You kind of go up the hill, and then it's like on the left, isn't it?
Oh, it's on the left. Okay, so it's just moved a bit up the hill.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But yeah, there we go. So there we go. I think that the last ball has dropped. We've covered all of the matches. That was a comprehensive roundup of everything. Round 2 from today, part 1. This sounds like one of those terrible young adult books. They decided to split into 2 parts. They had a phase of doing that in the 2010s. Shout out if you remember those. We will be back for more Last Ball drops tomorrow. As we said, we've got a live stream of Dimino Kazo. Maybe there'll be other live streams tomorrow. Who knows? Fergus, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nick. Great as always. Thank you to everyone that tuned in. It was great to have everyone in chat. And we will please hit like, subscribe, and we will see you very soon. Thank you very much.
See you all soon. And in the meantime, take care and keep talking tennis.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.